Have superhero movies not been doing it for you lately? I grew up loving superheroes. Lately, they just haven't been it for me. I don't know if anyone else is feeling this way, so I've been going out of my way to watch superhero movies made in other countries to see what they have to offer. And today, we are experiencing Russian cinema. I don't know anything about what I'm about to get into. Something I actually said to my girlfriend recently is like, something that's unfortunate about the world, I guess, is because of the United States' tumultuous relationship with Russia. We don't really get to see a lot of that country outside of them being the villains and things. Like watching American-made movies and TV, you get plenty of like Asia, Australia, Europe. You even get like a decent amount of Africa, I feel like. But like Russia is just kind of like, leave that. We don't go there. The only movie I can even think of that's Russian is Anastasia. I mean, I'm sure there's plenty more, but like that's animated too. Like that's not even filmed there. But with all that being said, let's take a look at some Russian superhero movies.
How come you're not around?
Starting with a movie called Guardians. Not of the Galaxy. I guess these guys only guard Russia. Now, you may or may not have actually heard of this movie, or maybe even seen clips of it online. It did get like some amount of notoriety in America. As a matter of fact, my most viewed TikTok is talking about this movie a couple years ago, back when I attempted to be one of them animated Avatar YouTubers. It didn't work. It was a lot of work. Sorry, guys. If you liked the animated Avatar thing, maybe, I don't know, I can try it again, but that was a lot of work, so now I'm just wearing blue shirts. It's Blue Jays, blue shirts. Okay, hopefully that's good enough. Now, it mainly got a lot of notoriety because of, well, the bear with the machine gun. Trust me, we'll get into it. I'm literally in the first few paragraphs of the Wikipedia page, it says this. Guardians was met with strong negative critical reception in Russian media, with many considering it to be one of the worst films ever made. Is it though? Let's check it out. During the Cold War, a classified program called Patriot develops a group of superpowered people by genetically enhancing selected citizens to defend the Soviet Union. Each member represents a different region and gains different powers. We see someone transforming into a bear, a guy with floating rocks, things like that. They're essentially the Russian X-Men, mixed with like agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., because Patriot is just discount S.H.I.E.L.D. When a competing project fails, its creator, Professor August Kuratov, attacks the Patriot facility and survives by turning himself into a machine guy who can control electricity and technology. Supported by his walking tanks, the rest of the heroes disappear for years. Discount Nick Fury, named Major Elena Larina, that's a name, is tasked with tracking down and reuniting the Guardians. So let's meet some of these guys. First, we have Lair, the Earthbender. He seems to have hidden away in some like religious temple. I'm not an expert on religion. Is this Christianity? You could tell me this is Greek mythology, and I'd probably be like, yep, that looks right. I would say he's probably my favorite character in the movie, though. It's mainly due to his powers. Because, like, I don't know, the effects in this movie are not fantastic, but his are definitely the best, so he gets, like, the coolest fight scenes. It's also hilarious that this is also considered one of the worst movies ever made, but this earthbending is, like, 20 times better than the last Airbender movie.
He was bending tiny stones at us from behind a tree. It really hurt.
Next up is Khan, a speedster with cool hooked swords. He also has some of the better scenes in the movie, some pretty cool speed blitz scenes, which I would show, but I have tried to make this video before talking about this movie, and every single time, specifically his scenes get claimed. So I'm sorry, look up his scenes, they're really cool. If I can get away with showing it, I will. You'll probably see it on screen now. And after him is Arsis, the man we've been waiting for, the man bear. The bear boy, man bear pig?
There is something out there which threatens our very existence and may be the end to the human race as we know it. I'm talking, of course, about Man Bear Pig.
The effect for it isn't great. Actually, I would say it's pretty terrible. But I'm gonna be honest, I don't care. This is a Russian superhero movie, and they put a man who transforms into a bear and uses a machine gun for a weapon in it. I don't know how else to tell people that that's just cool. Like, I really don't care. Like, I don't know, man. I'll suspend my disbelief. And finally is Xenia, the lamest character, by far. You wanna know what her superpower is? Her superpower is to turn invisible, but only when she's underwater. That's not a joke. That's really what her power is. Especially after introducing like Lair and stuff. I literally, the first time watching this movie, was like, oh, she's gonna be like a waterbender or something, right? That's cool. No. That's it. Her only power is when she comes in contact with water, she turns invisible. I find it hilarious also that for their first major fight scene of the movie, it just happens to be, pouring raining. Unbelievably lucky, I guess, because otherwise she'd be useless. So yeah, that's the team, and they're sent off to go fight Kuratov. And they get stomped. Like, literally instantly. It is hilarious how fast Xenia loses. I was just saying, oh, luckily it rained, so you're not totally useless, but then she literally immediately gets caught. Literally, why are you here? Lair, though, gets a cool fight scene where he takes on Kuratov. He unfortunately gets, baned?
Oh, your bunny!
Kuratov takes them all as prisoners and tries to get them to join him. They, of course, all say no. Lady Nick Fury breaks them out and then has emotional scenes with each of the Guardians to get them hyped for their next battle. Which, the funniest of revelations to me, is that they try to say Arceus is a scientist. Now look, I get what they're going for, like a Bruce Banner, Hulk type of thing. That guy's not a scientist. Thad Castle is not a scientist. Kuratov takes over a large city. I think Moscow, probably. I don't know. I don't know enough Russian cities, if I'm honest. I only know like 2 of them. It's like St. Petersburg and Moscow. Are there other ones? That's so dumb because I literally hate when people from like outside of the United States are like, yeah, the only like important cities in the U.S. are New York and fucking L.A. But, you know, look at how I'm talking about Russia. I used to work at Universal, like the theme park, at the front gate. I was one of the people who scanned your tickets. And the amount of people who'd come to, like, L.A. and be like, hey, yo, you're like, yeah, what's your plan? Well, you're in U.S. They're like, oh, yeah, we're going to do Universal today, and we're hoping to take a train to New York in a few days, and then, you know, we'll go visit Florida. And you're like, what? You don't know how the United States works. Anyway, back to the story. The Guardians have to stop him, but before they do, they're given brand new battle suits. No reason they weren't given these already, by the way. They just sent him in to fight Kuratov the first time, like, unprepared, and now they're just like, okay, maybe we should have, like, you know, given you guys something to help you. I think they just didn't expect them to flop as hard as they did. Lair gets a new suit with rocks, like, attached to it, and an electric whip. I don't really understand it. Why it's electric, I don't know, but it's a rock electric whip. Cool. Xenia gets a water-infused suit so she can actually have a useful superpower now. Khan gets armor. That's it. And Arceus gets a machine gun. Yes, the most Russian thing you will ever see in your life. Which, by the way, I haven't really explained, but he essentially has like 2 bear forms. He's got like half bear mode where he's like werebear, and then they have like full bear mode, which they even call it that, by the way. They literally say like full bear mode.
My human side switches off for a few seconds. Especially when I reach the final stage of full bear mode.
But yeah, he'll like fully turn into just a bear. So his machine gun is both like he can carry it and it also like attaches to his back for both modes. As I've said, I don't care if it doesn't look great. This is cool to me. 10 out of 10, no notes. I want more movies with bears with machine guns.
You know, I have one simple request, and that is to have sharks with frickin' laser beams attached to their heads.
And the final battle begins as the Guardians fight their way to Kuratov. And I just want to include this silly scene for you. They eventually all make it to Kuratov, where they get their ass beat again. That is the biggest issue with this movie. It's literally just them getting their shit rocked by Kuratov, like, every single time. It's so embarrassing. They have this, like, big moment where Arceus turns, like, full bear, and he's like, you think he's gonna, like, go, like, attack Kuratov, and then he just gets punched. The only reason they win is they get, like, thrown away from him, and then they all come together, combine their powers, and shoot, like, a Kamehameha blast at him. Not even joking. Like, this is just dumb. I'm sorry. It's just dumb. But yeah, they win. The day is saved. They all part ways, go back to their normal lives, but Elena says, hey, we're probably going to call on you again because we found more Guardians. Trying to set up for a sequel. Oh, and there's an end credit scene too to even more and try and hype up a sequel that's never going to happen. It's Elena fighting some guy and he warns her that someone is looking for her named Ferrum. And yeah, that's the movie. So was it that bad? I don't think so. I kind of enjoy it. It's not the most original movie ever. It's super tropey. The effects aren't great. The story's super bare bones. It's hard to judge the acting quality of a movie that is not only like the characters are speaking another language, but I watched the dubbed version of it. I liked most of the characters though, and there's a couple cool action scenes. Like I said, Bear with machine guns cool, Earthbender's cool, Speedster's cool, Xenia sucked. The biggest issue with this movie to me is Kuratov sucks. I didn't really get into it, man, but he looks like an overgrown, like, baby the entire movie. I don't know, man. I just didn't like him. I think he looked stupid. And his powers were basically just, like, cyborg, and that's fine, but then he, like, didn't really use it. Like, he could control all machines, is what they say. But he doesn't do that. He just kind of shoots some electric blasts sometimes. So yeah, I don't think this movie's that terrible. I don't think it's very good either, but worst movies ever made? No, definitely not. I mean, if you want a silly Russian superhero movie, go for it. Now, that being said, I do think it was like a thing to do with like, oh, it was like super high budget and it was attempting to compete with Marvel and it flopped. But that's a different issue. I'd recommend it. I'd watch it. I'd watch it again, to be honest. Just for the bear and the earthbender, though. And like maybe Khan, I'm not as into speedsters, but if you're into speedsters, you could think he's pretty cool too. But hey, what do I know about the worst movies ever made? My favorite movies of all time are the Star Wars prequels. So.
I don't like Sam.
Looking for superheroes from Russia is a bit of hard work when you don't know anything about Russian cinema, or literally just like anything about Russian culture. See, Guardians was a movie I'd seen prior to this whole like idea, and the one that I'm saving for last was actually a direct recommendation to me. This one though I found on my own. I haven't read anything about it, I don't know how popular it is, don't know anything. This is Black Lightning. No, not the CW show or the DC hero. It's totally unrelated, and I just find that kind of funny to me because it's like a thing that like black superheroes are always have black in their name, but then there's a superhero out there named Black Lightning. That's I don't know. That just makes me laugh. He's freaking Russian. But what's the movie about? Well, it's about a guy with a superpowered car. Let's see. Dmitry Maykov, goes by Dima, is a typical Moscow State University student, more focused on girls than anything else. One day on his way to class, he had to stop to help a man, causing him to be late to a lecture by Professor Viktor Kupsov. Dima actually says why he's late, and that leads to a little bit of a debate in the class. The professor, who's apparently a very wealthy man, asked the class who would do the same thing as Dima. Then he asked if they would still do what he did if they were offered $1 million to not do it. Naturally, they all say no. Dima makes a little joke about wanting the money, and Kupsov actually gives it to him. While Dima says he can't take it, eventually Kupsov does take it back. Dima asks for advice on how to make more money like him, and Kupsov says to deliver flowers. Which, by the way, isn't that the most like annoying like rich person advice ever? The most annoying thing in the world to me is whenever rich people are like, yeah, get out and work. It's like you are so far removed on what it actually takes to be successful.
Get your fucking ass up and work.
Like, I'm sorry, I can't release a sex tape and make $1 billion. Sorry, rant. Back at home for his birthday, Dima's father surprises him with an old black 1966 Volga. Like with most things, he's like nice about it, but he's also like, ugh, I wish I got like a cool car. In the glove compartment, Dima finds old photographs of 3 scientists and an old audio recording. He ignores it though and tucks them back in. A little bit more about Dima, he also has a crush on a girl in his class named Natsia. He believes the only way to get women like that is through money and power and all those kind of things. Especially after seeing his friend Max show off a Mercedes. He decides he wants to climb the social ladder, so he does start delivering flowers. During one delivery, he has to actually flee the henchmen of Kupsov, which, by the way, I cannot unsee this guy looking like Willem Dafoe to me.
Tell me how! The heart, Osborn. First, we attack his heart.
And while he's on the run, the car's flight system activates. He loses control, crashes into an abandoned building, and with his friend's help, he decides to investigate the car's origins. The photograph and recording lead him to 2 of the scientists, Pavel and Olga, a married couple with knowledge of the Volga's secret. Posing as a reporter, Dima learns that the car was part of an old Soviet black project. Is that just like the easy way to like write off your superheroes in these kind of like Russian superhero movies as, oh, the Soviets were doing experiments?
In Soviet Russia, car drives you.
Apparently, that's just the easy way to do it. It has rocket engines that allow it to fly, while it also has a nano catalyzer. That's what they call it, which transforms ordinary gasoline into potent nano fuel. The third scientist, Mikhail, I hope I'm saying these names right, by the way. I'm sorry if I'm not. He's the one who wrote the car's manual, and they give it to Dima. At first, things are going really well. With the use of the flying car, he's actually able to make like super fast deliveries and make a lot of money. He even gets to go on a date with the girl he has a crush on. Like, things are going fantastic. But with that, he gets a bit cocky, like most of us do. One day during a delivery, he ignores an injured man, only to find out that that man was his father, and his dad dies. The loss obviously hits him really hard, and he decides to change his life, now deciding to use the flying car to become a superhero. He takes the name Black Lightning and uses the car to help those in need, gaining fans across Russia and defeating some of Kupsov's men. Also, during a date with his crush, she believes she discovered the identity of Black Lightning, but actually thinks it's his friend Max. Later, Kupsov discovers the power of the Black Lightning car and the nanocatalyzer fuel, and plans to use it to fuel a big drill hidden within a skyscraper capable of reaching diamond beneath the city, even if it destroys Moscow in the process. Now look, I've seen a lot of crazy plans from villains in superhero movies, but his plan is to use a drill hidden inside a building to drill under Moscow where there's apparently diamonds below it and just destroy the city. What's the plan for after? Let's say this all works. Let's say this goal goes according to plan and he gets all those diamonds. Maybe I'm just not an expert. I don't know, but I feel like destroying one of the biggest cities in the world might have some consequences. Kupsov captures the scientists from earlier and makes them recreate the flight technology for his own car. A funny scene here that I really like. So because Natsia thinks that like Max is Black Lightning, not Dima. They're out in public and some news happens and Max has to go, I'll be right back, and just goes and hides out in the bathroom for a minute. I don't know, I thought that was hilarious. Kupsov was actually luring Dima into a trap. He steals the catalyzer and dumps the Volga into a river with Dima inside. Dima, though, does get a call from Natsia underwater, and this motivates him to fight once more. He comes up from the river, rescues imprisoned scientists, and reclaims the catalyzer. But Kupsov says, screw that. I'm taking your girl, as many villains do. The confrontation peaks where Dima signals Natsia using a secret code they share. She jumps from Kupsov's car midair, and Dima catches her just in time. The final aerial duel ends with Kupsov's Mercedes running out of fuel at the edge of space, leaving him stranded in orbit. With the city safe and Kupsov defeated, Dima and Natsia touch down on the streets of Moscow and celebrate. This one's fine. I definitely didn't hate it. There is one thing, though. It's just Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. Like, obviously not exactly, right? This did come out like a few years later, but you can very clearly tell like certain elements of the story were taken from that. Like, for example, he's just like this young like college student, the whole idea of like the secret identity, there being like kind of a love triangle with his best friend and this girl. There's also moments where like straight up it's ripped from Sam Raimi's Spider-Man. It's Black Lightning. Like that's literally a scene in Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 1, like where they're all like, oh, the Spider-Man, who is he? He sucks and I don't like him.
He stinks and I don't like him.
You know, that scene. Like, obviously certain things are changed. Like Kupsov's not related to like his best friend and like little things like that, and like the love triangle isn't as much of a triangle really. It's more just like the main romance and then the best friend who's also trying to get in there. Like I said, it's not a direct one-to-one knockoff, but you can just tell like certain elements were taken from it. And then also they decided to have the climax of Iron Man in it for some reason.
I see problem.
The father figure dying, and not only that, like ignoring helping the father figure only for him to die. Like there's just a lot that it's very clearly Spider-Man inspired. I'm sure this is some like Russian patriotic movie too on some level. I don't know anything about cars. Is a Volga a Russian car? They made a big deal about it being a Volga, and then like the rich guy having a Mercedes, which I'm assuming is not a Russian car. I'm sure that is a whole thing. I don't know. I'm not going to look into it. Like I said, I don't care about cars. Sorry. For me personally, I would put it below Guardians. But is it actually? It's probably honestly actually a better movie. But if you wanted Russian Spider-Man with flying cars, this is the movie for you. And last, we have something that was directly recommended to me in some comments. A few years ago, I made videos talking about Guardians on like Instagram Reels and stuff, and I'd gotten a comment from like a Russian guy being like, hey, this movie sucks. Can you watch an actual good one? There are good Russian superhero movies. And I was like, I mean, sure, but I don't really know. And he's like, watch a good one like Major Grom. So I did. Before we go, though, there is actually a short film for Major Grom available on YouTube. Highly recommend you watch it. It's not required viewing for the full movie. Basically, it started with a short film and then they made the full movie. As a matter of fact, the opening act, like the opening scene of the full movie, is basically just like a retelling of the short film. But I thought it was super fun. Highly recommend the short film. Like I said, free on YouTube. The movie opens with a short scene of young bullies chasing down an innocent dog and trying to harm it. A young boy decides to stand in their way. 20 years later, St. Petersburg Police Major Igor Grom is a cop known for getting results no matter how much chaos he causes. He single-handedly stops a trio of costume bank robbers, which, by the way, is the plot of the short film. It's just him stopping a bank robbery. I actually like the short film version of this better, though. Obviously, the movie has much more of a budget and there's like a big like action set piece for it, which is really cool in its own way. But the short film was like funny, like really funny. Like a good example is this bit. It's a thing throughout the whole movie that Grom will do something, it will go wrong, and then it'll cut back to him being like, think. So it's just like him thinking through different possibilities of what he could do. The first time I saw this in the short film, I died laughing. I did not expect it, so maybe that's also part of the problem. I had already seen the short film by the time I watched the full movie, so I was more expecting it. I don't care though. This was hilarious. I'm gonna play the scene. And it cuts to like a fake funeral scene, only for it to reveal that this is just him worrying about what could happen. Anyway, back to the movie. He wrecks half a city block in the process of stopping the robbers and makes his superiors really mad. There's also another funny bit throughout the movie where all the police officers bet on whether or not Grom is going to get fired, but he never does because he gets results. What can you say? At the same time, public outrage erupts when a wealthy man, Kirill Grechkin, I'm sorry, I'm really trying with these names, walks free after killing a girl with his car, showing the corruption in the system. Also at the same time, a tech billionaire, Sergei Razumovsky, creates like essentially a new social media internet thing, tech buzzword type stuff where it's like, yeah, the internet's gonna be free again, but you're also gonna have access to everything and blah, 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 blah. And it's all legal. That was also a funny line. I don't know why it was so funny that he was like, and it's all legal.
Читайте книги, статьи, слушайте музыку, смотрите фильмы, и все это абсолютно бесплатно. А главное, абсолютно легально.
With motivation from his friend Oleg, he shares his creation with the world. Soon, though, a mysterious masked vigilante calling himself the Plague Doctor appears on the new internet, declaring a war on corruption. Armed with flamethrowers, he executes Gretchen. Grom actually witnessed the killing of Gretchen and becomes determined to stop him, but he's sidelined and assigned to a trivial case involving stolen fridges along with his new partner, Dima Dubin. Which, by the way, I didn't know Dima was a short name for Dmitri. That's a new thing I learned. Again, you can tell how little I know about like Russian culture. Yeah, that's 2 movies in a row where there's a guy named Dima. So this was also something I commented on because I watched this movie with my girlfriend. I know it's like complaining that like watching an American movie and be like, whoa, everybody's name is John and James. It was just really funny during the opening credits of this movie that like every single person was named Oleg, Dmitri, Igor, Sergey.
And he introduces me to my 2 new gangsters, Igor and Igor.
They of course ignore orders and decide to pursue the Plague Doctor. Along the way, they cross paths with an internet blogger named Yulia Pacholkina. I'm calling her Yulia. I don't know what that is. She pretends to be assaulted in order to sneak into Grom's apartment and get more information on the Plague Doctor. I respect this girl. It's also a fun scene whenever she leaves, they then try to actually assault her and she just pepper sprays him. Back at Sergey's, Oleg reveals himself to be the Plague Doctor. He claims Sergey wanted Gretchen dead too and continues targeting powerful figures. And he quickly gains support from the public. Grom continues searching the criminal underground for more Plague Doctor stuff, but mostly comes up empty. Here's a really cool shot, by the way. I just thought this was like a cool way to show him like searching through different criminal undergrounds. And again, really pretty movie. I love the way this movie looks. Grom and Dima decide to investigate the opening of the Golden Dragon, a new casino in St. Petersburg, assuming the Plague Doctor will arrive. He doesn't though, but a bunch of pretenders do, leading to a big action sequence. Police show up and arrest them, but Grom is finally fired for ignoring his orders to not follow the Plague Doctor. Also, he was kind of thrown under the bus by his partner. To be fair, like, the partner was being threatened, but yeah, he kind of gets thrown under the bus by him. Of course, he still can't give it up and investigates further by going to the orphanage Sergey was raised in, eventually going to confront him at his home. It is then that the truth surfaces. Sergey is the Plague Doctor. Oleg doesn't exist. Well, he did exist. He's dead. Yeah, it's an alternate personality situation. Oleg died years ago. This caused Sergey to go insane, and I'm gonna be honest, this twist was really well done. I did not see this coming at all. Like, once they revealed it, it seems obvious because Oleg wasn't really much of a character. He was just like Sergey's friend. So much about the movie was about Sergey, and like Oleg doesn't interact with anybody except Sergey. Like, another thing, you know how the movie opened up with like a little kid fighting off some bullies? You assume when you're watching it that is Grom. You're like, oh, that's like showing Grom's character. He stood up to help save a dog. But no, that wasn't him. That was Sergey. They go back to that scene later. He takes off the hat he was wearing and shows off his bright red hair. Like I said, very well done twist. I did not see that coming. Sergey frames Grom for his crimes, leaving him on a rooftop in the Plague Doctor costume. Grom tries to escape, but is eventually stopped by his former partner Dima and is arrested. Which, by the way, Dima sucks. He sucks so bad. I was sure whenever they showed that, it was like, oh, Dima's the one who found him. That means he's gonna get away. No. Grom still gets arrested. Of course, though, he decides to help break him out, along with Yulia. Sergey unleashes chaos across the city by urging followers to hunt down anyone they consider corrupt, and even blows up a major building. His true goal, though, is to provoke such devastation that the state will stop the unrest, allowing him to rebuild society according to his own vision. Grom and his friends, who Grom tried to leave behind, by the way, confront him, and after a big fight, they manage to bring him down. I mentioned before that they do this bit a couple times throughout the movie where Grom thinks through different things to do. This one was hilarious. Yulia records Sergey confessing everything and exposes his motives to the world. The uprising is stopped. A kid from earlier in the movie who is like the brother of the girl killed by Gretchen at the beginning. He was like a part of the uprising, but then he like cries. He's like, I can't do it, and stops and gives it up. There's also a cop named Strelkov who had been against Grom all movie. He takes all the credit for ending the crisis. Sergey is confined to a psychiatric facility, and in a final twist, the supposedly dead Oleg is revealed to be alive. He's in a military camp. He also has a big beard. I actually didn't know who this was when this happened, and I had to look look it up. I didn't know that was Oleg. He looks very different. I respect the twist, but I literally didn't know that was him. Y'all, this movie was really good. I really liked it. Watch it. It was super fun. I like all the characters. Really, it's clearly the best one of today. I do have one issue with it, though. This is just the Batman.
No! This is not how this was supposed to go!
Like, okay, this movie came out a year before the Batman, though, but it's just the Batman if Batman was an actual cop and not just a vigilante. The Plague Doctor's just the Riddler, but more mainstream instead of like 4chaners. I don't know what to do with this information, but if you wanted to watch the Batman, but a little bit sillier and Russian, this is the movie for you. It was the movie for me, apparently. It was well shot, well acted, good costumes. Easily the best movie I watched for this video. Like, actually a very good movie. The other ones, like, they were fine. I enjoyed them for what they were. This one I genuinely would recommend as like a good superhero movie. I will mention this. I did see one thing on the Wikipedia page that said this movie denounces the Russian opposition and praises police. I don't know anything about Russian politics. I've made it very clear this whole video, I think. I barely know anything about Russia, but I don't think it did that. I mean, honestly, I almost thought the opposite for most of the movie. To me, they did a pretty good job of like showing the villain as like being somewhat sympathetic. I get it, Grom is a police officer, and it's definitely in the ending, they kind of go that way, because it's just like, all the people get arrested, and it stopped, and I would just watch it and decide for yourself. That being said, this movie does have, like, sequels, and if I can find more Russian superhero movies, I will talk about the sequels. I like to cover multiple topics in my videos, as you can tell. So I don't want just to make a movie about like just more Major Grom. I kind of want to make more Russian superhero movies. So if there are more Russian superhero movies out there that you can find or like help me find, comment below. That would be super helpful. All right, another country down. That was fun. Something I found a little interesting is how, I don't mean this to be insulting, how more derivative these movies were. Like, compared to the Japanese movies I watched, they all were pretty original. They were all tokusatsu based, but that was like original to Japan, which all of these in some way kind of felt like based on like American properties. Maybe not intentionally, but to some degree. The Guardians kind of felt like the X-Men, Black Lightning felt like Spider-Man, and Major Grom felt like the Batman. That's not inherently a bad thing, though, because, I mean, although they were similar, they were very clearly different, and I'm not upset I watched any of these. To me, they were still very entertaining. As I said, Major Grom was fantastic. I really liked it. And just because it's similar to the Batman doesn't mean it doesn't have its own personality, because it is a wildly different movie, just like with a similar concept. But yeah, that's another country down. I'm going to look at more countries soon. And yeah, if you have more movies to recommend to me, Russian or literally any country, please give me movie ideas. I love superhero movies, as you can tell. Do me a favor, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, do all that stuff down below. It would help me out a bunch. And hey, hopefully you guys come back to see me rant about more superhero movies. Peace out!